Staff Sergeant Allison Wright gripped the handrails of her drop pod as it shook violently through the atmosphere of Proxima B. Red warning lights flashed across her control panel. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. "Mayday, Mayday! This is Echo 7 experiencing critical failure," Allison shouted into her comm. Static answered her. The separation from her unit had been sudden. One moment they were in perfect formation. The next her pod's thrusters had misfired, sending her spiraling away from the main landing zone. Through the viewport, she watched the planet's surface, rushing toward her. Beautiful blue-purple terrain, unlike anything on Earth, grew larger by the second. Her training kicked in. Allison hit the emergency landing sequence and braced for impact. The crash was deafening. Metal twisted and screamed around her as the pod slammed into the alien soil, skidding nearly half a mile before coming to rest. Smoke filled the cabin. Allison's head pounded from where it had struck the control panel. Blood trickled into her left eye, but a quick check confirmed nothing was broken. "Could have been worse," she muttered, gathering her survival pack and assault rifle. The pod door refused to open automatically, so she used the manual release, forcing it halfway open before squeezing through. The air hit her first, surprisingly breathable according to her suit sensors, but heavy with unfamiliar scents. Spicy and sweet at the same time. Her briefing had mentioned compatible atmosphere, but experiencing it firsthand was different. Allison kept her helmet on anyway. Standard protocol. She had landed in a field of strange crystalline plants that chimed softly in the breeze. In the distance, a massive structure rose against the horizon, black as night and seemingly absorbing the light around it. It wasn't on any of the reconnaissance maps. Allison checked her locator beacon. Dead. Communication system. Also dead. The crash had fried her electronics. "Just perfect," she said, assessing her options. The dark structure was the only sign of civilization. If the natives of this world were as advanced as initial scans suggested, they might have communication she could use to reach her unit. It was a risk, but staying with the crashed pod wasn't much safer. Allison set off toward the structure, moving carefully through the alien landscape. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel buoyant. 2 hours of hiking brought her to the edge of what appeared to be a ceremonial garden. Strange statues of elongated, elegant figures lined a path of glittering black stone. Movement caught her eye. Allison ducked behind one of the statues, observing through her tactical scope. What she saw took her breath away. A procession of tall, slender beings with skin that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns moved along the path. They wore flowing garments that seemed to be made of light itself. At their center walked a figure that stood out from the rest, taller, her luminescence brighter, her movements more graceful. Even from a distance, Allison could sense an aura of authority. The welcoming committee doesn't look too welcoming, Allison whispered to herself, noting the weapon-like objects carried by figures flanking the central being. Her plan to observe, undetected, fell apart when the ground beneath her shifted unexpectedly. A crystal plant chimed loudly as she stumbled forward, directly into the path of the procession. The reaction was immediate. The armed figures moved with incredible speed, surrounding Allison with their weapons pointed at her. She raised her hands, slowly, rifle slung across her back, showing she wasn't a threat. The central figure, clearly some sort of leader, approached. Up close, Allison could see her features more clearly. Her face was humanoid, but with eyes larger than a human's, containing swirling patterns like galaxies. Her skin glowed with blue-purple light that pulsed subtly. The leader spoke, her voice melodic but incomprehensible. When Allison didn't respond, the leader touched a small device at her throat and spoke again. "You are not of Khazari," the device translated in a mechanical approximation of English. "Identify your origin and purpose." Allison swallowed hard. First, contact protocol was clear: honesty, respect, and caution. "I am Staff Sergeant Allison Wright of the Terran Expeditionary Force. My vessel crashed. I come in peace and seek assistance to contact my people." The leader's eyes narrowed, the galaxy-like patterns within them spinning faster. She circled Allison, examining her with intense curiosity. The guards maintained their positions, weapons ready. Terran, the new arrivals in our system. The leader's translator made her words flat, but her expression showed complex emotions. Your kind has entered our space without permission. Many among my council call for war. Allison's heart sank. There's been a misunderstanding. We believed. This system unclaimed. We seek peaceful contact. The leader was silent for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she reached out and touched Allison's helmet. Remove this. I would see a Terran face clearly. Against her better judgment, Allison complied, disengaging her helmet seals. The alien air filled her lungs directly, sweet and thick like honey. The moment her face was exposed, the leader gasped, her bioluminescence flaring brightly. The guards stepped back, murmuring among themselves. Impossible, the leader whispered, her translator barely catching the word. Before Allison could ask what was wrong, a sharp pain stabbed through her head. Images flooded her mind. Stars, distant worlds, and strange symbols. The telepathic intrusion was overwhelming. She fell to her knees, vision blurring. The leader knelt beside her, placing cool hands on Allison's temples. Your mind pattern. It resonates with the ancient frequency. After centuries of searching, Allison struggled to remain conscious as the mental connection deepened. Who are you? The leader's luminescence pulsed in time with Allison's heartbeat. I am Nixalara, Queen of the Xari Empire, Keeper of the Void Gates and Guardian of the Eternal Flame. Her mental voice was clearer than the translator. And you, Terran, have arrived at a most precipitous time. The guards looked uneasy as their queen helped Allison to her feet. One stepped forward, objecting in their native tongue. The queen silenced him with a gesture. Take her to the medical chambers, Nixalara commanded. Tell no one of her presence. The High Council must not know until I understand the meaning of this. As they led her toward the obsidian palace, Allison caught sight of the sky. 3 moons were visible, along with the distant shapes of what could only be ships, human ships in orbit. Her unit would be looking for her, not knowing she was being taken deep into the heart of an alien civilization. In orbit above the planet, Admiral Diane Foster paced the bridge of the UES constellation. Any sign of Sergeant Wright's pod? Negative, Admiral, the sensor officer replied. We lost tracking when it entered the lower atmosphere. Search teams report no beacon signal. Foster frowned. Keep looking, and maintain alert status. Those alien ships are still watching our every move. The first human lost on an alien world couldn't be the start of an interstellar incident. But unknown to the Admiral, Sergeant Wright's disappearance was already setting much larger events in motion, events that would forever change 2 species. Deep within the Obsidian Palace, Allison Wright slipped into unconsciousness as Kazari. Medical technicians examined her. Queen Nixalara watched with intense interest, her mind racing with possibilities. After 3 centuries of rule without an heir, the arrival of this human stirred something long dormant within her. Hope. The Temple of Origin stood on a high plateau overlooking a vast purple ocean. Unlike the Obsidian Palace, the temple was made of a material that seemed to be both stone and light at the same time. It changed colors with the movement of the suns and moons, shifting from deep blue to vibrant gold. Allison walked beside Queen Nixalara, now dressed in ceremonial Khazari garments that had been modified to fit her human frame. A small group of royal guards and priests accompanied them, keeping a respectful distance. This place has existed for over 10,000 years, Nixalara explained as they approached the massive entrance. Our ancestors built it to harness the unique energies that occur during the alignment. What kind of energies? Allison asked, feeling a strange tingling on her skin as they crossed the threshold. Cosmic radiation that affects our biology, the Queen said. It is here that our telepathic abilities first developed, and here where our reproductive cycles were traditionally synchronized with the celestial alignment. Inside, the temple opened into a vast circular chamber with a transparent dome ceiling. The 3 suns of the Xari system were visible above, with the twin moons slowly moving into position to eclipse them. Xari from all levels of society had gathered for the ceremony, their skin displaying patterns that Allison had learned indicated reverence and anticipation. When they saw their queen enter with a human at her side, a wave of shock rippled through the crowd, manifesting as flashes of light across hundreds of bodies. A tall Khazari priest approached, his age evident in the faded luminescence of his skin. "My queen, this is unprecedented. No outsider has ever witnessed the alignment ceremony." "These are unprecedented times, High Priest Zoltar," Nixalara replied firmly. "This human saved my life. She has earned the right to stand beside me today." The priest seemed unhappy but bowed in acceptance. "The inner chamber is prepared for you, my queen. The alignment begins in 1 hour." As they moved deeper into the temple, Allison noticed the stares and whispers that followed them. Not all were hostile. Many Khazari seemed simply curious. "Your people don't seem as angry as I expected," she said quietly to Nixalara. "The common people are less invested in politics than the High Council," the Queen replied. "Many are simply wondering why their queen has chosen to bring a strange alien to their most sacred ceremony." She paused. "Some are already noticing the synchronization between our bioluminescent patterns." Allison looked down at her arms in surprise. Sure enough, her skin had developed a faint glow that pulsed in rhythm with Nixalara's natural luminescence. "How is that possible?" "Your body continues to adapt to our world," Nixalara said. "My physicians believe the extended exposure to our atmosphere has activated dormant genes in your DNA, genes surprisingly similar to our own." They reached a small chamber at the very heart of the temple. Unlike the main hall, this room was designed for just a few occupants. In the center stood a crystal altar beneath a precisely positioned opening in the ceiling. "This is where I will meditate during the alignment," Nixalara explained. "Traditionally, only the queen enters, but I want you with me." Her galaxy eyes met Allison's. "I believe there is a reason you crashed near our sacred temple, a reason our minds connected so strongly. You think this was meant to happen?" Allison asked skeptically. Despite weeks among the Xari, her military training made her wary of mystical explanations. "I think there are patterns in the universe we do not yet understand," the Queen replied diplomatically. As the ceremony began, Khazari music filled the temple, haunting tones created by instruments that used light as well as sound. The first moon moved into position, casting a blue shadow across the land. In the inner chamber, Nixalara took her place on the crystal altar. She gestured for Allison to sit across from her. As the second moon joined the first, blocking 2 of the 3 suns, a beam of refracted light shot through the ceiling opening, bathing them both in a rainbow of colors. "Now we join minds," Nixalara said, reaching for Allison's hands. The moment their fingers touched, Allison felt the Queen's consciousness brush against hers, gentle but far more intense than their previous mental connections. Images flowed between them. Allison's childhood on Earth, her military training, the wonder she felt seeing alien worlds for the first time. From Nixalara came centuries of memories, the weight of ruling an empire, and a profound loneliness that came from outliving generations of her people. "You've been alone for so long," Allison whispered, feeling the Queen's isolation as if it were her own. "As have you," Nixalara replied, sensing the barriers Allison had built around her heart during years of military service. Different kinds of solitude, but solitude nonetheless. Outside the temple, Admiral Vexorn and his supporters watched the ceremony with growing anger. "The Queen pollutes our sacred ritual with this alien," he hissed to his conspirators. "When the alignment ends, we move forward with our plan." In orbit, the human fleet maintained its position despite increasingly aggressive maneuvers from the Xari Void Fleet. Admiral Foster studied the sensor readings of the planet below. "There's some kind of massive energy spike coming from that structure on the northern continent," her science officer reported. "It's unlike anything we've ever recorded." "Could it be a weapon?" Foster asked, concerned. "Unknown, but the energy doesn't match any weapon signature in our database." Foster made a decision. "Maintain position but ready all defensive systems. If those alien ships make one wrong move, I want to be prepared. Back in the Temple of Origins, the alignment reached its peak. The third sun was partially obscured, creating a phenomenon the Khazari called the Eternal Eye, a crescent of burning, light surrounded by darkness. The beam striking the crystal altar intensified, bathing Allison and Nixalara in radiance. Their mental connection deepened beyond words or images. Allison felt herself falling into Nixalara's consciousness as the Queen simultaneously entered hers. The boundaries between them blurred. This is stronger than it should be, Nixalara's thoughts came to her. The resonance between us. It amplifies the temple's energy. A surge of emotion passed between them, respect that had grown into affection, and affection that now blossomed into something more. Neither had expected this connection, this understanding that transcended their different biologies and backgrounds. The light surrounding them pulsed with their shared heartbeats. Their physical forms began to glow with matching patterns, creating a display of luminescence that astonished the watching priests. The prophecy, one elderly priest whispered to another, the union of distant stars. As the cosmic alignment reached its zenith, something extraordinary happened. The energy field around them intensified, creating what appeared to be a cocoon of light. Inside this private universe, Allison and Nixalara experienced a joining that was both physical and beyond physical, a merger of energies, consciousness, and something deeper. Neither fully understood what was happening, only that it felt right, necessary, and somehow inevitable. For those moments, they weren't human and Khazari. They were simply two beings connecting across the vast improbability of space. When the light finally faded and the alignment ended, they sat facing each other, hands still joined, both trembling from the intensity of what they had shared. What just happened? Allison asked, her voice unsteady. Nixalara's skin glowed with patterns that expressed wonder and confusion. I do not know exactly. In all the recorded alignments, nothing like this has occurred. They were interrupted by shouts from outside. The door to the inner chamber burst open, and Admiral Vexorn entered with armed supporters. Treason, he shouted, his skin flashing with patterns of rage. The Queen has corrupted our most sacred ritual with this alien creature. Royal guards rushed to defend their queen, but they were outnumbered. A firefight erupted in the temple's main chamber. We need to get you to safety, Allison said, her military training taking over. She spotted a small passage behind the altar. There! They escaped through the hidden tunnel as fighting spread throughout the temple. The passage led them to a small landing pad where a royal transport waited. The pilot, loyal to the Queen, took off immediately, carrying them back toward the Obsidian Palace. Admiral Vexorn has been planning this coup for months, Nixalara said grimly as they flew over the landscape. He has used your people's arrival as the excuse he needed to move against me. What will happen now? Allison asked. Civil war, unless I can regain control quickly. The Queen's expression was determined. I must address my people directly, show them I am still strong enough to lead. As they approached the palace, they saw it was already under attack. Vexorn's forces had moved faster than expected. We cannot land there, the pilot warned. Where should I take you, my queen? Nixalara considered their options. The ancient fortress in the Crystal Mountains. We will be safe there while we gather loyal forces. As their ship changed course, heading toward distant peaks that glittered in the fading light, Allison noticed something strange. Her body felt different, energized yet calm at the same time. Her skin still held a faint glow that matched the Queen's natural luminescence. Nixalara, she said quietly, I think something happened to us in that temple. Something more than just a mental connection. Allison woke up in a room unlike any she had ever seen. The walls glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from within the material itself. She lay on a bed that molded perfectly to her body, as if it were alive and responding to her shape. Where am I? She whispered, sitting up slowly. Her military uniform was gone, replaced by a simple garment made of shimmering fabric that felt cool against her skin. You are in the royal healing chambers, a voice answered. Queen Nixilara stepped from the shadows, her tall figure graceful as she approached. You have been unconscious for 3 of our days. Allison tried to stand, but felt dizzy. The Queen gestured for her to remain seated. Your body is still adjusting to our atmosphere. It contains elements not found on your world. My team, Allison said. They'll be looking for me. Your crash site has been concealed, Nixilara explained. As far as your people know, you disappeared without a trace. Anger flashed through Allison. That's not right. They'll think I'm dead. It is necessary, the Queen said firmly. The High Council believes your kind has come to colonize our world. They prepare for war even now. If they knew I harbored one of you here. A soft chime interrupted them. Nixilara touched a panel on the wall, and a 3-dimensional image appeared in the air. It showed several large ships, Khazari vessels according to their design, moving into attack positions near the human fleet. The Void Fleet mobilizes, Nixilara said with concern. Admiral Vexorn pushes for immediate action against your people. This is a mistake, Allison said. We didn't come here looking for a fight. Then why did you come? The Queen's galaxy eyes fixed on Allison intensely. Exploration, discovery. Allison met the Queen's gaze. Humanity has always looked to the stars, wondering if we were alone. Finding your world? It's the greatest discovery in our history. Nixilara was silent for a moment. My scientists tell me your physiology is unusual. Your genetic structure adapts quickly to new environments. It is not something we have seen before. Is that why I'm here instead of in a prison cell? Allison asked. The Queen's skin pulsed with patterns of light that seemed to reflect her thoughts. Partly, but there is more. When our minds touched briefly during our first meeting, I sensed something familiar. A Khazari attendant entered with a tray of food, strange fruits and what looked like cooked meat. Nixilara dismissed them with, "A wave. You must regain your strength. We will talk more later." Over the next few weeks, Allison gradually earned limited freedom within the Queen's private quarters. She learned that Khazari society was strictly matriarchal, with females holding all positions of power. Males were rare and treasured primarily for genetic diversity. Our species has faced reproductive challenges for generations, Nixilara explained one evening as they walked through a garden filled with bioluminescent plants. Each generation, fewer children are born. As Queen, I should have produced an heir centuries ago, but my body has proven incompatible with all genetic matches. Centuries? Allison asked in surprise. How old are you? By your measurement, over 300 years, the Queen said with a small smile. My species lives long, but we are not immortal. Without an heir, my death would throw the Empire into chaos. Through daily conversations, Allison taught Nixilara about Earth and human culture. In return, the Queen shared knowledge of Khazari science and history. A neural translator made their communications easier, though certain concepts remained difficult to express across the species barrier. Your world has so many different cultures, Nixilara marveled as Allison described Earth's diversity. We have been unified under a single rule for so long. Such variation seems chaotic. It can be, Allison admitted, but that chaos drives our creativity, our innovation. One day a Khazari medical officer requested to see the Queen privately. Allison watched from across the room as they spoke in hushed tones, the officer's skin flashing with urgent patterns. Nixilara's expression shifted from confusion to wonder. Later, the Queen approached Allison with strange intensity. My physician has detected changes in my biochemistry, she said, and in yours as well. Our prolonged proximity appears to be causing adaptations in both our bodies. Is it dangerous? Allison asked, concerned. Unknown, Nixilara replied. But fascinating. Your cells produce compounds never before seen in our research. My body seems to be responding to them. Meanwhile, in orbit above the planet, tensions escalated. Admiral Foster refused demands to leave the system, insisting that the search for missing personnel must continue. We have reason to believe survivors from the crashed pod may have been taken by the aliens, Foster told her officers. I won't abandon our people. Unknown to the humans, Khazari spies had infiltrated their communications. Admiral Vexorn used this intelligence to argue before the High Council. The humans admit they have lost people on our sacred soil. The Admiral's skin flashed with angry patterns. They accuse us of taking prisoners. This is pretext for invasion. Queen Nixlara attended these sessions remotely, unable to reveal her knowledge of the truth. The situation grew more precarious daily. She knew war between their species would be devastating for both sides. Back in the royal quarters, Allison noticed changes in herself too. Her senses seemed sharper. Colors appeared more vivid, and she could detect the subtle emotional shifts in the Xari attendants by the patterns of their bioluminescence. Something was definitely happening to her body. I need to contact my people, she told Nixlara firmly. This misunderstanding could cost thousands of lives. The High Council would execute you immediately if your presence were known, the Queen replied. And me as well, possibly, for harboring you secretly. Then why risk it? Why keep me here? Allison demanded. Nixalara's luminescence dimmed slightly. Because you are unique, Allison, right? In all my centuries, I have never encountered a being whose presence affects me as yours does. The confession hung in the air between them. Allison felt an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. Over these weeks, she had grown to admire the Queen's wisdom and strength, the burden she carried for her people. Their moment was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the palace. Guards rushed past the doors. What's happening? Allison asked. Nixalara accessed a communication panel. Her expression turned grave. Assassins have breached the outer defenses. Supporters of Admiral Vexorn seek to remove me for being too hesitant in dealing with humans. Before Allison could respond, the doors burst open. 3 Khazari warriors entered, weapons drawn. They wore no royal insignia, clear evidence of their treasonous intent. The Queen protects human spies while our warriors prepare to die. One shouted in the Xari language, which Allison's neural translator interpreted. Your weakness ends today. Without hesitation, Allison leapt into action. Her military training took over as she disarmed the first attacker with a swift strike, using his weapon to disable the second. The third managed to fire a shot that grazed Nixalara's arm before Allison tackled him to the ground. Royal guards arrived moments later, securing the assassins. They stared in shock at the human who had defended their queen. Nixalara's wound glowed, with a strange light as it began healing itself. She looked at Allison with new respect. You risked your life for me, she said softly. Reflex, Allison replied, though they both knew it was more than that. That night, as medics treated the minor injuries both had sustained, Nixalara made a decision. Tomorrow begins the alignment ceremony, when our twin moons eclipse our 3 suns, she told Allison. It is our most sacred time. I want you to attend, as my special guest, not my secret. Won't that cause problems with your council? Yes, Nixalara admitted. But after today, my royal guard respects you. And perhaps, seeing a human act with honor will change some minds. Her skin glowed with a pattern Allison had never seen before. Besides, the Temple of Origins is where our ancestors first developed the abilities that define our species. I believe it may hold answers about what is happening between us. As night fell over the obsidian palace, both women felt something shifting between their worlds, something neither fully understood but both increasingly welcomed. 2 months passed in the ancient mountain fortress. Queen Nixalara's loyal forces had grown steadily as word spread that she still lived. The attempted coup had fractured Khazari society, with Admiral Vexorn controlling the capital and the High Council, while nearly half the military remained loyal to their queen. Allison stood on a balcony overlooking the vast crystal mountains, now familiar with their ever-changing colors as the 3 suns moved across the sky. She had adapted well to life among the Xari, her body continuing to develop the strange luminescent patterns that mirrored the Queen's own. Staff Sergeant Wright, a voice called from behind her. She turned to see Zivara, the Queen's chief physician, approaching with a data tablet in hand. "Just Allison is fine," she reminded the physician. "What's wrong? You look concerned." "Not wrong," Zivara said, her skin pulsing with patterns that Allison had learned indicated excitement mixed with confusion. "But unexpected. The Queen requests your presence in her chambers immediately." Allison followed Zivara through the fortress corridors. They passed Khazari guards who now nodded respectfully to her, a significant change from the early days when many had regarded her with suspicion or outright hostility. Queen Nixalara was standing by a large holographic display showing Troop E movements across the planet when Allison entered. She dismissed her military advisors with a gesture. "Leave us," she commanded. When they were alone, her formal demeanor softened. "Allison, something extraordinary has happened." Allison noticed that the Queen's natural luminescence seemed brighter today, pulsing with a pattern she hadn't seen before. "Are you okay? You look different." "I am more than okay," Nixalara said, a smile spreading across her face. "I am with child." The words took a moment to register. "You're pregnant? But I thought you said you couldn't." "For 3 centuries, all attempts to produce an heir have failed," the Queen confirmed. "Until now." "That's wonderful news," Allison said sincerely, knowing how important this was to Nixalara and her people. "Who is the father? I mean, I know your reproduction is different from ours, but that is the extraordinary part," Nixalara said, her galaxy eyes fixed intently on Allison. "There is no father in the traditional sense. The child carries genetic markers from only one other being besides myself." She paused. "You, Allison." Allison stared in disbelief. "That's impossible. We're different species from different planets. How could I possibly—" "The alignment," Nixalara explained. "The energy it channeled through us, combined with the adaptations our bodies had already undergone from prolonged exposure to each other. Zivara believes the temple's radiation somehow merged aspects of our genetic material. So the child is ours?" Allison felt dizzy with the implications. "Part human and part Khazari?" "Yes," Nixalara confirmed. "The first of its kind, a true joining of our worlds." Before Allison could process this information fully, a royal guard burst into the chamber. "My Queen, urgent news from the capital. Word of your condition has leaked to the High Council." Nixalara's expression darkened. "How?" "A medical assistant with divided loyalties," the guard explained. "Admiral Vexorn now denounces you publicly for contaminating the royal bloodline with alien genetics. He calls the child an abomination." Anger flashed across the Queen's face, her skin patterns shifting to deep red. "He dares?" "There's more," the guard continued grimly. "They have declared you unfit to rule. The Admiral has ordered your capture, and the immediate execution of all humans on our world, starting with the one in your protection." Allison felt a chill run through her. "This is my fault. If I hadn't crashed here—" "No," Nixalara interrupted firmly. "Vexorn has sought power for decades. He simply uses this situation as his excuse." She turned to the guard. "Double the fortress defenses, and send word to our supporters in the capital. It is time to move against the Admiral directly." After the guard left, Nixalara approached Allison, taking her hands. "I will not let them harm you or our child. My people have faced extinction for generations due to our declining birth rates. This child represents hope, proof that we can adapt and evolve. But many of your people won't see it that way," Allison pointed out. "They'll see it as a threat to your species' purity." "Some will," Nixalara acknowledged. "Others will recognize the truth, that isolation leads to stagnation, while connection brings renewal." That night, as Allison tried to sleep, she was startled by a sound at her window. She reached for the Xari energy weapon she'd been trained to use, pointing it at the shadowy figure climbing into her room. "Don't shoot," a familiar voice whispered. "It's me, Maya." Allison lowered her weapon in shock as Commander Maya Patel, one of her unit members from the Terran Expeditionary Force, stepped into the light. Maya, how did you find me? How did you get past the guards? Special forces, remember? Maya said, with a grin that quickly faded. We've been searching for you for months. When we finally picked up traces of human DNA in this region, I volunteered to infiltrate. She looked Allison up and down, noticing the faint luminescence of her skin. What happened to you, Allie? Allison explained everything. Her crash, her time with Queen Nixalara, the alignment ceremony, and the impossible pregnancy that had resulted. Maya listened in astonishment. So you're telling me you're going to be a, what, co-mother to an alien-human hybrid royal baby? That about sums it up, Allison admitted. This changes everything, Maya said seriously. The Admiral needs to know about this. We've been on the brink of war with these people for months. 2 support ships were destroyed in the first Khazari attack, and the Constellation has been holding position at the edge of the system, planning a major rescue operation. Rescue operation, Allison repeated. We thought the Khazari were holding hundreds of human prisoners, Maya explained. Initial scans showed human biological signatures scattered across this continent. Allison suddenly understood. Those weren't prisoners, that was me. My DNA has been adapting to this world, spreading through the Queen's medical facilities as they studied me. So there's no invasion force needed, Maya said. Just an extraction team for you. My shuttle is hidden in a canyon 2 miles from here. We can be gone before dawn. Allison shook her head. I can't leave, Maya. Not now. What? Why not? Maya looked baffled. Because I'm part of something important here, Allison tried to explain. This child Nixalara carries. It could end a civil war, prevent an interspecies conflict, maybe even save the Zari from extinction. That's not our mission, Allie, Maya argued. Our job was exploration, not getting involved in alien politics or reproduction. Plans change, Allison said firmly, and said, if Admiral Foster is planning an attack based on false information, thousands could die needlessly, humans and Khazari alike. Maya considered this. What do you suggest? We need to get a message to the Constellation, show them I'm alive, and explain what's really happening here. The Khazari have been jamming all our communications, Maya said. The only way to send a clear signal would be from their main communication spire in the capital. Then that's where we need to go, Allison decided. That's suicide, Maya objected. The capital is controlled by rebels who want you dead. Not entirely, came a voice from the doorway. Queen Nixalara stood there, her guards behind her. Maya reached for her weapon, but Allison stepped between them. It's okay, she assured Maya. She's on our side. To Nixalara, she explained, this is Commander Patel from my unit. She's here to help. The Queen studied Maya with interest. Another human with adaptive potential. Your species continues to surprise me. She turned to Allison. I heard your plan. It is dangerous but necessary. The communication spire can indeed reach your ships beyond our jamming field. You'd help us contact our fleet? Maya asked suspiciously. To prevent war? Yes. Nixalara's expression was resolute. Too much blood has been shed already, and there is more at stake now than just politics. Her hand moved instinctively to her abdomen. Maya noticed the gesture. So it's true. You're really carrying a human Xari child. The future of both our peoples. Nixalara said simply. A plan quickly formed. Queen Nixalara would lead a direct assault on the palace with her main forces, drawing Admiral Vexorn's attention. Meanwhile, Allison and Maya, accompanied by a small team of loyal royal guards, would infiltrate the capital through ancient tunnels and reach the communication spire. Once there, you will have only minutes to broadcast your message before Vexorn's forces locate you, the Queen warned. It will be enough, Allison assured her. Before they parted, Nixalara took Allison aside. Be careful, she said softly. Remember that you carry my future within you just as I carry yours. I'll come back to you, Allison promised, both of you. As dawn broke over the Crystal Mountains, 2 missions launched simultaneously. the Queen's forces moving openly toward the capital, while Allison and Maya's smaller team slipped away through hidden paths. Neither knew that Admiral Vexorn had his own plans in motion. In orbit, the UES constellation moved closer to the planet, its weapons charged and ready. Admiral Foster watched the tactical display with grim determination. "The assault ships are ready, Admiral," her first officer reported. "Troops can begin landing within the hour." "Proceed as planned," Foster ordered. "It's time we brought our people home." The ancient tunnels beneath the Zari capital were a maze of crystalline passages that glowed with faint blue light. Allison, Maya, and their small team of loyal royal guards moved swiftly through them, guided by maps that had been secret for centuries. "The Queen trusts you with knowledge few Khazari ever see," said Leverin, the captain of the Royal Guard. His skin patterns showed a mixture of respect and lingering uncertainty. "I understand what that means," Allison replied, feeling the weight of that trust. Her own skin now glowed with patterns almost indistinguishable from those of the Khazari. Around her, a physical manifestation of how much she had changed since arriving on this world. Above them, they could hear the sounds of battle. Queen Nixilara's forces had engaged Admiral Vexorn's troops at the city's edge, drawing attention away from the center where the communication spire stood. "We're almost there," Maya said, checking the scanner she had brought from her shuttle. "The spire's base should be directly above us now." They found a vertical shaft that led upward, climbing in silence until they reached a hidden door. Leverin pressed his palm against it, and the door recognized his Royal Guard genetic signature, sliding open to reveal a storage room within the spire's ground floor. "The broadcast chamber is 30 levels up," he whispered. "The lifts will be guarded. Then we climb," Allison decided, pointing to a maintenance ladder visible through a nearby grate. As they made their way upward, the battle for the capital intensified. Queen Nixilara led her forces personally, her battle armor glowing with royal patterns that inspired her loyal subjects. Many citizens, seeing their queen fighting to reclaim her throne, joined the battle against Vexorn's forces. "The Queen lives," spread through the streets like wildfire, weakening the Admiral's support. In orbit, the human fleet began its approach. Assault shuttles launched from the UES constellation, carrying soldiers prepared for a hostile extraction mission. "First wave. Entering atmosphere in 5 minutes," reported the tactical officer. Admiral Foster nodded grimly. "All units are authorized to use necessary force to recover our people. If the aliens resist, do not hesitate." Little did she know that the massive human prisoner presence their sensors had detected was actually just the genetic echoes of a single human, Allison, whose DNA had spread throughout Khazari medical facilities during her treatments. Inside the communication spire, Allison's team encountered their first resistance on the 20th level. 4 of Vexorn's guards patrolled the corridor they needed to cross. "I'll handle this," Maya whispered, slipping into the shadows. Moments later, all 4 guards were unconscious, taken down with the silent efficiency of Special Forces training. "Impressive," Leverin admitted, his skin patterns showing respect for Maya's skills. 10 more levels," Allison said, leading them toward another maintenance shaft. When they finally reached the broadcast chamber, they found it surprisingly unguarded. "This is too easy," Maya said suspiciously, scanning the room for traps. "Most of the technicians joined the fighting," Leverin explained. "Few remain at their posts during a civil conflict." Allison approached the communication console. Its alien design was complex, but during her months with the Queen, she had learned enough about Khazari technology to understand the basics. "I need to configure this to broadcast on human frequencies," she told Leverin. "Can you help me?" The Royal Guard nodded, his fingers dancing across the control surfaces. "There. Your message will reach beyond our atmospheric jammers." Allison activated the system, speaking clearly into the pickup. "This is Staff Sergeant Allison Wright of the Terran Expeditionary Force, calling UES Constellation. Admiral Foster, please respond." Static crackled for several seconds before a surprised voice answered. "Sergeant Wright, this is Admiral Foster. We thought you were dead or captured. What's your situation?" "I'm alive and free, Admiral," Allison replied. "There are no human prisoners on this planet. The DNA signatures you've been tracking are all from me. My body has adapted to this world, and my genetic material was studied in multiple facilities. That's impossible, Foster responded skeptically. I'm sending you visual confirmation now, Allison said, activating the communication system's camera function. Her face appeared on the screens of the constellation's bridge, clearly showing her health and the faint luminescence that now marked her skin. What happened to you, Sergeant? Foster asked, noting the changes in Allison's appearance. It's a long story, Admiral, but what matters now is that you abort the attack. The Khazari are in the middle of a civil war. Queen Nixalara seeks peace with humanity, while her opponent, Admiral Vexorn, wants war. Before Foster could respond, the door to the broadcast chamber burst open. Admiral Vexorn himself entered with a squad of elite guards, their weapons raised. Traitors and aliens, he snarled, his skin flashing with patterns of rage. Contaminating our communication spire with your filth. Leverin and the Royal Guards moved to protect Allison, but they were outnumbered. A firefight erupted in the chamber, energy weapons scorching the walls. Admiral Foster, Allison shouted into the comm. We're under attack. Please hold your forces. The Queen wants peace. On the Constellation's bridge, Foster watched in shock as the firefight played out on her screens. For the first time, she was seeing the conflict from the inside rather than through tactical reports. Abort the landing, she ordered suddenly. Hold all assault shuttles at minimum safe distance. Ma'am? Her executive officer questioned. Something bigger is happening here, Foster explained. Wright is alive and clearly has established some kind of rapport with at least one faction of the aliens. I want to understand the situation before we commit our forces. Back in the communication spire, Maya had been hit by an energy blast that grazed her shoulder. Allison pulled her behind a console for cover. We need to hold this position, Allison told her. Keep the communication channel open as long as possible. Vexorn's voice cut through the chaos. Your queen is defeated. Our forces have her surrounded. At the west gate. He's lying, Leverin shouted back, firing another shot. The queen advances toward the palace even now. At that moment, the large display screen in the broadcast chamber activated automatically. It showed a public broadcast from the palace steps. Queen Nixalara stood there, her battle armor scorched but her posture regal. Beside her stood the captured commanders of Vexorn's personal guard. People of the Xari Empire, her voice rang, out across the city. The rebellion is over. Admiral Vexorn has betrayed not only his queen but the future of our species. The camera panned to show the gathered crowd, thousands of citizens watching in person and millions more through broadcasts. For too long, we have walked the path toward extinction, Nixalara continued. Our birth rates fall with each generation. Our genetic diversity diminishes. We face a slow death as a species. Her hand moved to rest on her abdomen, a gesture not lost on the watching crowds. But the universe has offered us a new path. Contact with humanity has brought not just new knowledge, but new life. Gasps spread through the crowd as she made her announcement. I carry a child, the first royal heir in 3 centuries. A child that represents the future of both our peoples, human and Khazari together. In the broadcast chamber, Vexorn watched in shock as his support crumbled before his eyes. The Queen's announcement was reaching everyone, including his own soldiers. Lies, he shouted. Abomination! But even his own guards hesitated, their weapons lowering slightly as they processed the Queen's words. Allison seized the moment, stepping forward despite Maya's attempt to pull her back to safety. Admiral Vexorn, she said calmly, your queen offers your people survival and a future. What do you offer except war and eventual extinction? The Admiral's skin flashed with conflicting patterns, rage, fear, and uncertainty. For a moment, it seemed he might order his guards to fire. Instead, he raised his own weapon, aiming directly at Allison. I will not allow our royal bloodline to be contaminated, he declared. Before he could fire, one of his own guards moved, knocking his arm upward. The shot hit the ceiling, sending crystal shards raining down. The Queen carries an heir, the guard said, his skin showing patterns of awe. The prophecy of renewal. We cannot interfere. One by one, Vexorn's guards lowered their weapons, stepping away from their commander. The Admiral stood alone, his authority evaporating. Levrin moved forward, taking Vexorn's weapon. "Admiral Vexorn, you are arrested for treason against the throne." As the Admiral was led away, Allison returned to the communication console where Admiral Foster still watched. "As you can see, Admiral, the situation here is complex," Allison said. "But Queen Nixalara genuinely wants peace with humanity. She's risking everything to make that happen." Foster's expression was thoughtful. "And this child she mentioned, is that real?" "Yes," Allison confirmed. "And I'm involved in that situation." Understanding dawned on Foster's face. "I see. That explains the genetic readings we've been getting." She paused. "What are you asking of us, Sergeant? Stand down your attack force, send a proper diplomatic team instead. There's an opportunity here for both our species." Foster nodded slowly. "I'll consult with Earth Command, but I believe they'll agree. This is unprecedented first. Contact territory." "Thank you, Admiral," Allison said with relief.